Come on in to Margaret McSweeney's Kitchen for Kitchen Chat, where every week you'll meet chefs, cookbook authors, foodies, gourmets, and just plain people who love to eat. And along with laughter, chat, recipes, and stories about food, you'll sometimes also hear words of inspiration, love, and hope. As Margaret always says, Kitchen Chat is food for the senses and food for the soul. So grab a cup of coffee, put your feet up on a comfy chair, and get ready to spend a little time with Margaret and her friends.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kitchen Chat. This is Margaret McSweeney, your host here on webtalkradio.net, and I am so delighted that you are joining me today here in my kitchen, where I broadcast each week at my kitchen counter or kitchen table. I think you're really going to love today's show. We have two very, very special guests from New York City and the iconic restaurant Union Square Cafe. The Chef Carmen Quayata, and the Service Director Patrick Service. Welcome to Kitchen Chat.
Hi, how you doing, Margaret?
Good morning, Margaret.
Oh, hi. And we just have so many great topics to cover today. But first, a little bit of background about Union Square Cafe. And when I lived in New York City many years ago, I actually had the incredible opportunity to dine there, and it is such a fabulous experience. But in 1985, as you may recall, listeners, Danny Meyer opened his first restaurant, which was Union Square Cafe. And people were calling it a new breed of American eatery, and how they just really aired imaginative food and wine and just an incredible experience. And someone gave it the tagline of serving America cuisine with an Italian soul. And it's very much of an award-winning establishment, twice received New York Times 3-star ratings. I got number one ranking as New York's most popular restaurant for 8 years. So very much an accoladed place to dine. And, of course, Danny Meyer has gone on to create an incredible culinary empire with his Union Square Hospitality Group, and has some great restaurants added to his repertoire and menu. So anyway, but today we are so honored to have Chef Carmen and Patrick here to provide some background and an inside peek on how just an incredible iconic restaurant like Union Square Cafe there in New York City works together in creating the menu and then pairing the drinks with that. But first, before we get into those details, and also a great takeaway and some fun ideas for your summer planning and menu planning and beverage planning, before we get there, I'd like to just get a little bit of background and give you listeners a peek into who these fine culinary people are. So, Chef Carmen, you have been cooking since you were a child, and really were influenced, right, by your mom and grandmother in the kitchen?
Yeah, well, I guess you could say I've been eating since I was a child, which we all have been, but eating with I guess a lot of enjoyment, doing it in passion. I didn't really start cooking until I was maybe 17 or 18, and pretty much fell right into it. That was it. I knew right away I wanted to do that the rest of my life. So, we were just a family that always thought about, what's the next meal, or we couldn't wait to go to my grandmother's house. And I started working in a kitchen, and that was that. I realized I was pretty good at cooking too.
Oh, that is great. And you have a real passion, I understand, for vegetable gardening and cooking. Yes. Tell us a little bit about that and those special seeds that you have too.
Oh, yeah. Well, my grandmother always had a garden, and I moved to California when I was pretty young. And with that growing season out there in my early 20s, I just started putting things in the ground, and it was pretty easy sometimes and sometimes not. But, one of the first things I grew was some beans, Romano beans, that my grandmother brought with her from Sicily in 1933. It's the same beans myself and my uncles have been growing in our family since, I guess you could call it a true heirloom Sicilian bean, or a green bean. And they're, just like in Jack and the Beanstalk, they're pretty successful. You just put them in there and they go. You kind of have to cut them back a little bit. But, I like to do everything that I kind of call my summer Italian garden. The peppers and eggplant, hot peppers, beans, tomatoes, of course. Cucumber's always good and refreshing to have around for salads. So they're all easy things to grow. So I do love it, definitely.
That is great. And I understand that you use the beans in dishes there at Union Square Cafe during the summer.
Oh, well, a couple times. Summer. I keep most for myself, but if there's any special tables coming in, I'll try to get some in just for special people. Maybe if you come, Margaret, I'll have beans for you.
I am there. Sign me up. Oh, I definitely can't wait for that. And what is one of your favorite bean dishes, I guess, that you like to make from these very, very special family beans?
Actually, I just like to cook them for I wouldn't say a long time, not like my grandmother used to, which was for a really good long time with olive oil and garlic, but with take one tomato from the garden, chop it up, and I'll usually do it in a pan while I'm grilling outside. I'll throw the beans right in with the tomatoes, a little water, basil, garlic, and anything else that I might have available. Sometimes I grow zucchini. I'll throw one of those. It's really whatever I can pick. Some hot peppers and just simmer them down in those nice juices with the tomatoes and basil. And that's something that you could serve alongside grilled meats or by itself with a hunk of bread, which is my favorite way to do it. So, I just definitely let the garden take over the table. I prefer to have something with the beans rather than just plain.
Right.
Something kind of juicy and acidic like the tomatoes.
And I love what you just said. I think that is a fine quote. I like to let the garden take over the table. What a great mantra to live by. And Union Square Cafe, you really take that to heart in cooking with seasonal ingredients at the green market. Could you just kind of walk us through a typical day in terms of going to the market? How do you plan the meals?
Well, first it's just getting out there early enough before some of the area restaurants snag the first ingredients. It's usually really cool to get the first of something of the season, the first nettles that might hit the market, or even because we're only 50 yards away, I can come up out of the subway stairs, which are right there where they set up, and by 7:15 have the first bag of corn or the first case of asparagus. That's always an exciting thing. This year when I brought the asparagus into the kitchen, the cooks literally cheered. They let out a cheer when they saw it. We get so sick of potatoes and apples and squashes that really hit their peak by January. So it's always nice when the spring hits. And a typical day is, like I said, to get out there early, talk to the farmers, see what they have. And you have to be pretty athletic, mentally to say, okay, I can use this ingredient in that spot, and just quickly start changing dishes in your head. You have to be able to taste them while you're out there. You have to anticipate it, and you just get back in the kitchen and start going. So this time of year, I would say from May to October, what I call, well, actually more like June, right in about a month, there's going to be so many things in the market. There's so many changes. It's hard to tell you a typical day, I guess is what I'm trying to say, Margaret. It goes pretty quick. And seasons don't change by the season. They change every 10 days. Something gets a little different, and we try to let our restaurant reflect that.
And that must be a challenge for the person who is printing up the menu each day, too.
Oh, yeah.
To try to make sure all of that.
No, it's perfectly fine. We're really good at it by this time.
Oh, good. Now, as you may or may not know, but my listeners definitely know, I am the world's worst cook, and now that I've reached the half-century mark, I'm now officially 50 this year, I've embarked on a culinary journey and have gotten over my fear of asking questions that might sound a little odd that others might know, but I'm still discovering. So you mentioned something I'm not familiar with, and you said getting the first nettles. Is that a type of vegetable? What is a nettle?
Yeah, it's a wild fern in the fern family, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, I should know really, but yeah, it's in the fern family, and it's they have stinging nettles around here in the Northeast, and also all over, I think, in the Northwest, Northern California, a lot of nettles, and really rich green leafy plant, almost like seaweed in flavor. It depends on what farm we get them from, or what farm or forager is bringing them in. Sometimes they're very rich and almost chocolatey. Sometimes they're more nori-like I mentioned, like the seaweed, but they have a very unique, amazing flavor. I love them.
I love to see when people order those because it opens up such a door for wine and just all the different wines that we have available for spring. So
yes, and Patrick,
it's a cool
I
ingredient.
want to definitely understand how you pair that, because that must be a challenge for you too in terms of choosing the accompanying wine that will best bring out the flavor of each ingredient and dish that Chef Carmen prepares. But before we get there, one more question about nettles. So how do you prepare a nettle? I'm just trying to envision this. It's like a fern-like ingredient. Is it kind of, and you said
it's a leafy plant.
nettles.
Yeah, the stinging nettles, it stings you when it's raw. If you're handling it with your bare hands, you'll get it's like touching a tiny cactus where you get many little, what do you call those little spines or spindles or something, and it stings you, makes you itch. So if you wear gloves when you're prepping them, that's fine. As soon as you cook them, they're okay, safe to eat. Nothing stings your throat. And I like to braise them down in basically just by themselves, a little bit of water, and add some cream or butter and puree it. We work it into a sformato here at the restaurant as a hot appetizer, or to make a nettle sauce. I like to puree it because the very fine little fibers running through the leaf can be a little bit fibrous. So I like to flavor things with it, like soups or the sformato, or a cream sauce to go on some pasta with a little prosciutto or something like that. But I rarely just saute the leaf and eat it like that. If you do, you really want to cook it down, make it nice and tender.
And then what is a sfumato?
A sformato is basically an Italian version of a custard. It's actually a little bit less eggy than a French savory custard.
Okay.
Usually made with bechamel. I bind, or I guess thicken the sformato here with leftover bread. Just a little more consistent. So it's not quite exactly classic, but if you have to cook to make a bechamel for the sformato, even if you gave them a recipe and told them exactly what to do, it would always come out a little bit different, and then the custard would come out a little bit different. So just for the sake of consistency, that's how I do it.
This is just fascinating. I am learning so much. And Patrick, I can't wait to hear what wine you would choose to pair with nettles.
Well, depending on the way the nettle is. So if it's nettles in the form of the sformato, I guess you're looking for something a little bit spicy, a little bit on the lighter side. Something definitely like a cool climate wine, something with good structure, because you definitely want to cut through but not overpower the custard. So in this case, for somebody who's a red wine drinker, with the green and the sort of spicier side of things, while remaining that sort of cool climate, structured, balanced wine, the Loire Valley is great because it has a lot of cool climate reds from the Cabernet Franc grape, which has a little bit of that green, has a little bit of that structure without being overpowering. So it's a really, really nice balanced grape, and you can get it anywhere from, light and fresh, or you can get it all the way to Bordeaux in style, a big, rich wine. So in this case, I'd go with something like a lighter Chinon.
Interesting. And Patrick, I'm so impressed with what you have on the website. And listeners, I will make sure I provide a link to unionsquarecafe.com. And on this, there's the full wine menu, and featuring the map of the Loire Valley with the wines. That just makes it so user-friendly for diners to anticipate.
Yeah, it's really nice to sort of add a level of discovery to what is just, first and foremost, our wine program exists for the sake of complementing the Green Market menu, the great menu that Chef provides here. So to add a level of discovery to that, to be a little bit, educational, I guess, always adds like a nice layer. You're always going to remember that one time that you had this one wine that you'd never heard of before, like a Courcheverny from the Loire Valley, from like a great vintage like 2009. And then, our servers are nice and up to date on all the information So it's nice to have a dialogue with the person that's sort of leading you through your food journey, especially on the wine side.
Yes, and that is, yes, an important pairing as well. And I guess some of the fresh ingredients that you're seeing coming from the farmer's market, the green market, you'd mentioned, Chef, let's see, asparagus, and I assume spring peas and soft shell crabs.
Yes, peas are right around the corner, and ramps are a big early spring vegetable, which is a wild onion, foraged.
Yes.
Wild onion, and what else? Fiddlehead ferns. A lot of new fresh greens. The best time of the year to grow greens for the farmers is spring and fall. Summer is really hot, so you get your best spinach and arugula, things like that right now. There's a lot.
Yes, and then with, for example, I guess let's look at the spring peas, and I understand, Patrick, that you have created quite an upcoming pea shooter. I guess it is.
Yes, I have to give credit here to Corey and Chad, both of on the front of house and back of house side, for coming up with this. This was a very innovative cocktail that actually was incredible and very, very well received for everybody that ordered it. So the two of them walked around the green market and were walking around and seeing what was seasonal, what was fresh, and then wanted to focus in on that first. So a true 100% seasonal green market focus. They found the English and spring peas, and they thought to themselves, how can we manifest this into a great drink? And the first thing they thought of was mint. And then they went back, brought them with them. Chad, in the back of house, whipped up a mint puree, and then Corey went to work on the rest of it to really bring it out. And we have this chamomile-infused grappa liqueur, and I guess you could say this is another way that we try and keep things fresh and seasonal, and green market inspired, that we don't buy any flavored vodka. So we infuse all of our own vodkas in-house. So we have Sorrento lemons that we use to infuse our vodka. And so Corey thought richness of the grappa liqueur and then just a good citrus backbone of the lemon-infused vodka. It all came together, and it was just such a unique, fun, and tasty drink. And the name was awesome, Pea Shooter.
That is great, and I just think it's so neat how the kitchen and the beverage area actually collaborates to concoct and curate these interesting cocktails that definitely have their origin from the green market, and it goes back to your whole farm to table concept that is so important there at Union Square Cafe, and back to the green. So that's just so exciting to hear how that works. And then this was so interesting too, Patrick. I understand that inspiration was to crush up the pork rinds. Tell us about how that came about.
So
Super Bowl?
The Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
So we decided to call. We decided to get a drink together that was going to be one seasonal, and then also, I guess, seasonal in terms of what was going on in the world at that time. So at the time, Meyer lemons down south were in season. So we thought about, let me see, let's get Meyer lemon involved, and we thought tequila is such a great thing because of the citrus and the tequila and the margarita base, and we thought, oh, that would go really well with something savory. So we had infused, we had a pork-infused tequila that we used. The kitchen decided that, that was going to be the way to go, and they also came up with the idea of having chicharrones, the sort of Mexican Super Bowl snack. Yeah. So and we turned that into, because it was a pigskin, into the pigskin classic, like the Super Bowl is often known. So we literally had pigskin done in sort of a traditional Super Bowl snack that we had as a garnish, as a half rim. We did it with some chili, some salt, and we garnished it with some with a nice lime twist.
Oh, what a creative collaboration between the kitchen and you guys. This is great. So it's very much coordinated and curated. You're quite the cocktail curator.
We get really excited when we have the opportunity to create like the kitchen. So we always come back and look to them for inspiration for how we can sort of throw flavors together and really put a good product out there.
Well, I think also it works perfect with our manipulation of the green market items and their understanding in the bar with Patrick and his staff of the liquors and everything that goes on there. It's bringing that together. It just is a natural way to go. We get better drinks out of that collaboration for sure.
That is great. And also, kind of on an interesting side note, Patrick, I noticed that you're on a blog, the Open Table blog, in terms of how to woo your boo.
How to woo your boo? What did you do?
Which included
that was the title of the interview.
Oh. Right, which included some special wine tasting. And I understand that you did indeed woo your boo, and you're getting married, which is just wonderful. And
yes, it's Saturday.
If you could maybe discuss some of the wines that you found for your wedding.
So I guess there were a few considerations for this because I'm originally from Palm Springs, and so is she. So we are heading back right at the height of it's getting really hot out there. So part of our consideration for choosing wine was how do we not only meet the needs of the 200-person party and what most people like to drink, which for the most part, if you look at the numbers, it's usually Cabernet Sauvignon and Chardonnay. So we decided to give them something, along those lines. But we also wanted to make it very warm, season-friendly. I think it's projected to be about 100 degrees. So with people wearing suits,
wow,
we decided to give them a break. So instead of your typical Cabernet, I thought, well, what are the flavors in Cabernet? What's the profile that people are looking for? And they're looking for a bigger style red wine. Cabernet generally doesn't get too much lighter, so I thought what's next best, and it was a Syrah-based wine. And especially with the big flavors that we're going to be having, we're going to have Mexican food and Bosnian food and some big flavor American food. So to pair with those big flavors, I wanted something lighter, big in flavor. So we went with a Syrah-based Côte de Rhône. And we definitely sought out some people in the California area and asked them who work in the area, well, what sort of recommendations do you have? I have a friend out there in a restaurant, and I said, what's something that will work that is sent there. So we found a French Côte de Rhône. And then I happened to do harvest with a really well-known winery out there last year, Calera Wine Company. And so they definitely specialize in lower alcohol wines, which is great for finding something lighter in body. Yeah. So we definitely went the Chardonnay route. Still, we were thinking about going with a Viognier or something else that's Chardonnay-esque. But, we went with something that I was familiar with, that I helped bottle and package, actually. So that's coming. So low alcohol on both of them. So we take it easy on the body, but they're still big in flavor. And then we found a Cremant de Bourgogne. Very unlikely that anybody's going to find a champagne at the price to pour for a banquet. So we thought, what's the next best thing without going the Prosecco route?
Right.
And we were able to find a Cremant de Bourgogne from a really good producer. They're just now starting. So I guess the advice I would give to somebody looking for setting up wedding wine is talk to somebody in the wine service business and give them, your parameters.
Right.
And then if it's from an area you're not familiar with, then it would definitely help to familiarize yourself with the book through somebody else. So yeah, we're really lucky. We're going to have a great feast and some great wine with us.
Oh, and congratulations for
Thanks so much.
for wooing your boo. That was a fun
successfully.
Yes, open table blog. That was really fun to watch. Now, what do you recommend with the summer season coming up, late spring, Chef Carmen, in terms of what is something that a home chef can really do to take advantage of the fresh ingredients, easy dishes, fun things for a picnic, and easy next day recipes as well?
Well, first it starts with what you like to eat. I like food that tastes great room temperature, and that's the great part about summer food. If you're going to grill some eggplant, you can leave it on the side until the guests arrive, or tomato and bread salad, like panzanella, is always good, just tossed and left, and using your day-old bread that way. But I always try to keep it easy at home. I'll be honest with you. I never go really overboard. I realize I don't have a crew with me, and there's no one to wash up all the dishes either. So I like to grill. Like a lot of people, I like to grill, and I like it to be something that could sit and then eaten again later, or something you can prepare and have it all laid out nice, and you're not sweating. You have a drink in your hand ready to hand it to your guests.
Right.
Of course, maybe I'm the only guy that starts drinking before the guests come, but
I promise you, you're not, Chef.
All right. And so as far as tips, that's my main tip: is take it easy and and try to shoot for foods that are going to be great 15 minutes after you put them out on the platter. Don't try to do too many things a la minute.
That's wise advice. Now, do you like to entertain? I mean, it must be so exhausting cooking at the restaurant, but you like to entertain at home
I love
as well.
to entertain. Yeah, we've had our kitchen remodeled last summer finally, and it took all summer. So we use it a lot this fall and winter season. So it's great to have people over, and I like to keep it. I like to keep a main theme and not do too many dishes. Like if someone comes over, I like to do a big paella. Or, I'll have a pasta night, and we'll do a few marinated vegetables, and then I'll have a couple different platters of pasta, and that's it. And I always make someone bring dessert. I don't want to make dessert because my KitchenAid is stored up high, and I don't like to pull it down. So that's it. People come to my house and say, "What can I bring?" I always say dessert. And so, yeah, entertaining is a good time. I'm never too tired to cook at home. I love to cook for my wife and boys, so it works out fine for them, I guess.
That is so great. Now, you mentioned marinating vegetables. What is what do you like to use to marinate the vegetables?
I always like some sort of good acid. Usually I'll cook. It depends on the vegetable, but you want to cook the vegetables first, then marinate them. Other than different than meats. Meats you marinate then cook.
Oh, okay.
But for summer vegetables, I love red wine vinegar and oregano and basil. Of course, a great olive oil. Always make sure you use a good olive oil.
Right.
And you got to have the right amount of acid, I think, in marinades. There's no reason just to pour fat over something. Of course, garlic, use liberally or gently, whatever you prefer. But I would say my go-to summertime marinade would be oregano, red wine vinegar, olive oil. And maybe even just like a crushed up tomato that's over ripening on the vine, just pour it on top of something also. And also I love to marinate. My grandmother had this thing, it was called inscapech, or I used to know the literal translation. Drawing a blank on the air here.
Oh,
Not good. Basically she would like lightly fry zucchini. She always have a lot of zucchini, like too much. And bread it, lightly fry it, and then pour over a marinade, kind of just like I said, and it would just sit out. Again, things would just sit out all day, and you'd eat it whenever you could. But Patrick's like the producer that looks up all these things. He's got the inscapech coming right now. But that's something I love to do is or a floured and fried eggplant, and then a marinade over that. Or you can even take a little bit of ricotta salata and some mint and roll that thinly sliced eggplant that you floured and fried. Roll that up in it and put a tomato, red wine vinegar, olive oil marinade on top of that. Those are all really kind of cool Italian approach marinades or way to eat vegetables that I like in the summer.
Oh, that sounds delicious. My stomach is already growling.
Yeah. And I always like to have a little cheese with everything I just mentioned there. Can't leave the cheese out with all the vegetables. Yeah, a little pecorino or goat cheese, always nice.
And you know, I grew up in the South, and I love fried asparagus.
You love what? I'm sorry.
Fried asparagus?
Oh,
I'm
yes.
sorry, not asparagus. Okra, fried okra.
Oh, fried okra. Yeah.
I think I just created
I'm not a big okra
dish.
fan. I got to be honest with you. Well, you know, we actually have a fried asparagus on the menu right now. And I thought, wow, it's crazy.
So I didn't create it. Oh, good.
Yeah, we batter fry, like we tempura fry asparagus with like a little lobster salad. But back to the okra. I always didn't really love the texture. You know, I'm not a Southerner, so but I've worked in West Virginia. And I had some Southern friends turn me onto it, and when they fried it, I was in. Definitely.
Yes. That's one of my favorite dishes, that's for sure. But who knows? Maybe we could try frying nettles. I don't know.
Yeah. You can fry anything as long as they're all hot.
True. Oh, and Patrick, what do you recommend? You know, because I know a lot of people are going to be going to the beach and picnics, and especially with Memorial Day and other holidays coming up. What cocktails do you recommend you can make a batch of that transport easily?
I guess especially for the season, you want to focus a little bit on some lighter spirits. You want to focus a lot on some good citrus fruit. Very batchable cocktails, I guess, you could throw together. A Paloma is, one of my favorite drinks. It's really easy. So long as you have a quart measure, you have a bottle of tequila, and you have grapefruit juice, and you got lime juice, and then you have the agave nectar sweetener. There's really no set recipe because either the grapefruit juice or the lime juice, depending on how fresh it is, depending on whether or not it's store-bought. But for the most part, I have really rough measurements. I usually find a big pitcher. I put a good amount of ice in it. If it's going to be a lot of people, I'll just turn upside down a bottle of Blanco tequila, put the entire bottle in there, and then usually about a quart or so of grapefruit juice, red or white grapefruit. Both work really well. And then a half quart of lime juice. And from there, half a cup or a quarter of a cup of agave nectar. I would definitely use the agave nectar slowly and just keep tasting and just stir and stir and stir. And the best part is that it's so fresh, it's so good, and it's so summer, and it's perfect for hot weather outside. It's really refreshing.
And have you named this little cocktail? Do you have a special name for it?
This is a very, I guess, traditional, or it's pretty regularly drunk cocktail in Mexico called the Paloma. Generally speaking, though, they take grapefruit soda and then they add it to tequila. So I know there's a number of people in the U.S. that have adapted it with fresh juices and a little bit more seasonal natural ingredients. And that's the best way to have it. Is when you're definitely focusing on fresh ingredients.
Right. It goes back to the green market, as you as you keep saying. And in terms of the holidays and everything coming up with 4th of July, do you do anything special at Union Square Cafe to kind of commemorate and mark the different holidays and celebrations?
Sometimes we do. I guess it's pretty spontaneous when that happens. It could be whatever mood we're in, or someone says something and it'll happen. But we usually don't force it to go with that, because we do a great burger for lunch. And people think of Memorial Day and 4th of July, they think of grilling and outdoor things, and we already represent a lot of that in the menu with the vegetables we have. And so I would say we don't do anything thematic for those summer beach holidays.
Okay.
I'll be honest.
The one area that we will at least plan on having something that's 4th of July is our weekly aperitif. We always try and, like with Cinco de Mayo, we put on a really fun a margarita, which is an adaptation of a margarita that uses a little bit of a bitter Campari. So definitely we're still searching and figuring out what we're gonna do cocktail wise, but I think that's about where we're gonna go with the 4th of July.
Great.
Actually, Margaret, I take that back. We do fun things with our sandwiches. Like we'll do different types of barbecues, and that's where we kind of have the outlet to do those fun things for those holidays. and not just the traditional Southern barbecue. We'll do whatever. Right. So do a twist on a Korean barbecue or a cool type of po' boy sandwich or something like that. We'll do that
always
this summer.
Creating in the kitchen. Oh, and I just have such an even more newfound respect, not realizing that basically the menus you create, Chef Carmen, are the ones that you create that day, seeing the ingredients that are in the green market. That's
pretty much. Yeah, I've got a good crew that helps me with that too. I can't really, I'm not going to say I'm there every day, but I try to get in the market on Wednesday for sure. That's the main day. And then, myself and the sous chefs collaborate a lot, and we'll even, it's an open conversation in the kitchen also with the cooks when we taste, and it's a lot easier to involve people. So I got to throw some credit their way. They work very hard, staff.
Oh, that is great. And what is the most challenging dish you've ever created?
Well, in our kitchen, I don't know if you ever. You say did you eat here once?
I did, but I did not go into the kitchen.
Oh, if you ever had a tour of the kitchen, I could say every dish we create can become a challenge in our kitchen. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, we have a decent amount of space, but I don't know. We seem to, if we were going to do it and the idea is there, it's never so challenging that it sticks in my head like that. That we couldn't do it. I will say I love to cook with pork shoulder, but not always shred it and make a sandwich or barbecue out of it or things like that. And to roast a pig, a whole suckling pig or a pork shoulder to maybe butterfly it open and roll it up and do those types of things, those long cooked meats and braises. It's difficult to hold them in the right temperature and serve them throughout service without having to reheat it. I don't want to reheat something that we're cooking like that. So if I'm going to cook and also something that's not submerged in liquid like a shank. So
right. That's
the most challenging thing. Like if we're going to do a suckling pig, like the style that's just a whole pig with the skin on. When it comes out of the oven, I want it sold in an hour. That's the most challenging thing. And everything else you can pretty much figure out. That's tough. Bruschettos are tough. Like a seafood pan stew, because everything has a different cooking temp, and you're telling the cooks you got to pull those muscles out, and then you want to add this at the right time, and I could say that's what sticks in my mind.
Wow.
Are those two items. I'm really nuts about those things and how they're going to come out.
Right. Now, is there any dish or ingredient that you have not yet cooked with, but you're really interested in trying out sometime?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, absolutely. I'm reading so much all the time in articles and online. There's always something that pops up. Gosh, there must be something.
Or
recently.
Any cuisine, any type.
Just yesterday, I think I was saying to someone, we got to get. Oh gosh, I don't really. How about there's like a powdered plankton now that I've been reading about that I want to cook with.
A powdered.
But I don't know the name of it. Yeah, it's this plankton. Gosh, what's it called? You got me. That's a great question, Margaret.
Oh.
What do I love to cook outside the realm of Italian. I know that we're just called new American with Italian soul, and I definitely, being Italian and being in love with Italian food and my heritage, that's something that comes through in the menu a lot. But I really like to go outside those boundaries, and for instance, this morning I made a soup that's definitely along the lines of a Mexican, almost like a lamb pozole approach, but without the hominy and potatoes instead. So I really do enjoy doing other things. I love to cook Asian at home, Vietnamese and Japanese food. For a Christmas party this year, I did a whole Japanese theme. That was great. But as far as unusual ingredients, there's a bunch. I would love to learn more about the technology that goes into food today. I'm 43, and my generation of chefs, by the time we had jobs that where we were established, and that was such a new thing while I was very busy running a kitchen with my style of food. I definitely would love to, if I could just blink my eyes and take 6 months off, I would try to learn so much about all that molecular gastronomy. Not that it would be in my repertoire every day, but I'm just really curious. I think you always have to be a student of what your profession is. And I love to eat food like that out. A lot of my colleagues just do some amazing things with that technology that I would love to know. So those are some things I think in the future, if everything goes as planned, I should have time to learn some more of that and just take a little bit of it and work it into what I do would be great.
Oh, well, I have just learned so much from this conversation. I could just talk for hours with you guys and learn about pairing food and beverages and just the discovery. So thank you to both of you, Chef Carmen and to Patrick of Union Square Cafe. I am just so honored that you guys have been guests on Kitchen Chat and have really helped me along my path of discovery of different foods. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome, Margaret.
Oh, and listeners, I will make sure I put a link to their website, unionsquarecafe.com, a wonderful, wonderful, iconic restaurant of Danny Meyer, Union Square Hospitality Group, just a great, great group there. And I also love how you have this where readers and on the website and listeners can actually contact you with questions that they have. I just think that's a wonderful interactive process that Union Square offers, and kudos to you guys for that. But definitely, if you're in the New York City area, drop by and see Chef Carmen and Patrick there at Union Square Cafe and try some of their great ideas for your own entertaining this summer and through the holidays. So thank you so much to our guest, and listeners, thank you for taking the time to be in my kitchen today here on Kitchen Chat with webtalkradio.net. And please stay in touch. I love to hear from you. And always remember, savor the day.
Thank you for joining us today. If you're interested in Margaret's books, A Mother's Heart Knows, Pearl Girls Encountering Grit, Experiencing Grace, and Go Back and Be Happy, please just click on the covers on the webtalkradio.net page in front of you. Margaret would love to connect with you and hear from you, so join her on Twitter, Facebook, her blog, or click on this website to leave a note and share a recipe. Thank you again, and we'll see you here again for a new show next week.